Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our preview series, a show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture, and tomorrow's game is quite a big one, but thank goodness it's here because I am sick to death of international football and we're very happy to have club football back on the scene. To do so, as with our preview shows, I'm joined by a few of our members. Let's join them now. Vinny, how you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You're going to get fed up of me though soon. Always on your shows at the moment.
No, it's always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. Also joining Vinny is Alex. How you doing, fella? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you doing? All right.
Very good. Very, very good. I mean, I feel a bit guilty now. You're telling me all about your uni life. First year, I had to deal with the pandemic. Didn't get to go out once. I feel almost guilty about that. The missed opportunity there. But now things are gradually getting back to semi-normal. Maybe you're taking more advantage of it now. So there you go. But no, good to have on the show, Alex. Good to have Vinny. And making his debut on the show today is Chris. How you doing, Chris? Are you well?
I'm very well, thanks, guys.
Good
Great to be here.
Vinny was commenting on the fact that how you joined up as a member. I think it was, or you joined the Discord server a couple of days ago, and you're already on your first show. It's like the acceleration. Soon you'll be taking over. That's usually the trend we're going to see. So good stuff here, mate. Good
Be
stuff.
careful.
I'm watching over my shoulder. Thank you ever so much, guys, for tuning in that are watching live. Please do make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Provide you with daily content and, of course, the famous 8 a.m. shows as well. Let's kick off, though. Vinny, Liverpool, confident, nervous. How are we feeling?
I'm excited. It's going to be a really good challenge. For me, Liverpool have got the best team in the league, the best starting lineup anyway in the league. I think their starting lineup's class, and I think it's a good challenge for us. I think we're really good at the back now, and we're hard to break down. It's just going to depend on how we can link up going forward, because in games where we played the big teams before, we've struggled a bit, and we've really struggled to get out from the back. And I think that's the big test today. Can Lacazette or whoever's playing in that attacking role bring the midfield and attack together and get the ball out of defence? I think it's a big challenge, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing game, and seeing kind of that measuring stick of where Arsenal have progressed since that 5-0 defeat at the Etihad earlier this campaign. 10 games unbeaten, Alex, and you'd think the confidence is as high as it could be going into this game. And do you think that's going to play a real factor, or do you think that it's very much one game at a time, or do you think the momentum will carry us through this game?
I mean, obviously with the international break, I hope that hasn't affected the momentum in any way, as they can do for some teams, I think. But I'm quietly optimistic. I think I said in the last show that I was on the podcast that I think that we might surprise them. So I'm just hoping that we can keep this sort of playing out from the back against the team that are as good as Liverpool, because obviously they're quite good at pressing, and we haven't necessarily come up against many teams that are going to be as good as them at that.
Yeah, very true. I think it's Ramsdale being there instead of Leno is a big plus, and the step up that we've seen kind of in his distribution alone has had a huge effect on that. If you think back to the Leicester City game, in the way that we played out from the back in that fixture, but Ramsdale actually had his lowest passing percentage in all of the whole season against Leicester. It was only 60%. That's because he went long so many times to kind of beat the Leicester press, because he's really good at kind of recognising the moments where you can go short and then when you should try and kick it a little bit further afield. Chris, Liverpool, of course, they're on a little bit of a weird run. They drew against Brighton. They lost against West Ham. Do you think that those two matches are going to have the negative effect of saying, oh, they're a little bit, uncertain right now and they're trying to get back into their groove? Or do you think, if anything, it gives them more of an incentive to try and turn things around for themselves?
I think it's give them more of an incentive. I think for them, it's a case of, everybody knows they're the best team in the league, right? And they're not showing it, right? So I think Klopp's going to be getting them up for this and going, guys, you need to go back out there and show what you can really do. But I'm excited for us because I think we've come such a long way in the last 10 games, right, from the start of the season. And we were starting to play some really good football. And I think we've got it there, right? So I think to test ourselves with basically a free hit, I'm really positive about not necessarily the result, but I think the fact that this for us is a really interesting game as to how the rest of the season is going to pan out.
It's really interesting where you used the term free hit, because I know it's a debate that's raged across kind of the Arsenal sphere about whether or not we can look at this as a bit of a free hit game, or whether or not it's something that we need to be not necessarily taking more seriously, because we're going to take it very seriously, but in the sense of, if we don't get a victory in this game, actually it could have more of a detrimental impact. Vinny, I'm going to come around the group on this kind of thing. Is it a free hit, or is there more to this than simply saying we can afford to lose this?
I don't think it's a free hit. We need to go into every game thinking we can win it. I think the difference in the past is you didn't believe that we stood a chance to even compete against the top teams in the last year or two, the way we've been playing. But I think, as I said before, we've got a very good defence, and it's just going to depend how we link up when we go forward. But you sort of say free hit. I think it's a game we're probably expected to lose, but we need to go out there and show that we can compete now with the teams. And I think it's really, really important that fans don't overreact if we do lose and have complete meltdowns and irrational meltdowns, because it's not good for the team. We need to back this team. We need to get behind them, and we need to get behind the manager as well, even if you do disagree that he's the right person for the job. This team needs support. It needs our backing. We shouldn't be putting toxic pressure on them. You need to be Arsenal fans, and really back the team.
Chris, I'll let you respond to that, because obviously Vinny's saying they're not thinking it's a free hit. Do you get kind of that point of view, and where does the kind of reasoning for your free hit kind of theory come from?
I think I sort of agree with him, and I'm maybe just using the term slightly differently.
Sure.
It's like, I think this is about fan expectation, right? And I think this is about us not getting overly, overly complacent about what we're doing. I mean, say whether you are Arteta in or out, this is the journey we're on till the end of the season. So we need to, get behind the team, to be supporting that team. But I think we send them out. And we say, guys, go out there and enjoy this, right? Play. We know you can play well. Go and play for each other, right? And play for the team, right? And then if we don't win, it doesn't matter, right? But what does matter is the way that we play this game, and the way that we play this game together. And I think I'm using the term free hit more in terms of giving the guys the freedom to go and try. I mean, we saw this earlier in the season with, I think it was Tierney popped one from inside our half, right away across the field where Pepe should have been. And it's like, and I'm chatting with my mates, and I'm going, well, yeah, I'm fabulous, right? We've lost the ball. I don't care, right?
Yeah,
we're trying, and we're doing things that we haven't had before, and that's probably what I mean more by free hit than
it doesn't matter, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I wanted to get kind of the context around that, so it was important to do that. Alex, what do you think about the whole debate around, and how you might define the terminology of calling this a free hit? Because there are a lot of people out there who say that we can lose this game and it genuinely doesn't matter if we don't win this game. So how do you kind of perceive the result and the impact it will have on our season, either a win, loss, or draw?
Well, I don't necessarily think we've got that much to lose. I mean, I think obviously if we lose the game, then it really depends on the reaction as opposed to the actual game itself. Like, I don't think many people expect us to win. So I think the performance for me is more important. As the Chris and Vinny have said, I think the performance is more important than the result to me. Like, if we get walked over, then obviously that's slightly worrying. But if we lose 2-1 and go out fighting, then I don't think that's the end of the world for me. I'm quietly optimistic, so I'm keeping the book open, see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we'll go into you guys' predictions towards the end of the show, but I'm liking the optimism. I'm just hoping it's not a little bit of preemptively ironic, kind of looking at the game afterwards, and we'll look back at some of the things we've said. But I think we have a right to go into this game with an element of confidence after the games that we've played, especially after the last 10. Go on, Vinny.
I was going to say, if they give a team talk like Chris did a minute ago, I was inspired to
Get him in the dressing room.
go out there and play. And I think that's true. Arteta needs to give this team belief and talent to go out and attack this Liverpool team rather than sitting in our shell and being scared and holding back. That worried me against Brighton. We didn't play out against Brighton at all, and I think it's because we was just too scared to play, and I think that was to our detriment. If we try and play our game, we got a better chance of beating Liverpool rather than if we go into our shell and just hold back and try and defend.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at our predicted lineups. I think we're starting off with Alex's team. Alex, talk us through your selection, mate.
So I think, without wanting to sound complacent, for the most part, the team just tend to pick itself at the minute. I think the main point that will probably get picked up on is the fact that I've picked Tavares over Tierney. And my main reason for that is that I don't necessarily think he's done anything wrong. And Tierney, without wanting to sound sort of ignorant to what's gone on the international break, last time I heard he was having a few fitness issues, and I really don't want him to be rushed back in because I think he's such a vital player for the course of the season that I don't want to risk him just for the sake of it being Liverpool, if you know what I mean. And I think Tavares has been outstanding in terms of attacking, in an attacking sense.
Yeah.
Maybe defensively in his positioning hasn't always been there, but that's just something that comes with experience, I suppose.
It's interesting you've gone in that way because Vinny obviously has gone the complete other way and gone with Tierney. So it's kind of, it's good to go from one to the other. Why Vinny, have you chosen Tierney over Tavares?
I think it is a toss-up. Like, if I see Tavares on the team sheet, I wouldn't be angry. But for me, Tierney's more experienced. And I think against the best player in the world right now, you want an experienced player in there who's a leader to try and deal with him. But I wouldn't be angry either way. And I think that is such a massive positive because last year, as soon as Tierney got injured, we was in panic mode. We had to play Xhaka at left back, for example, because we didn't trust Cedric there. The fact that we've got such a good understudy and you can debate who needs to be in is great. But for me, Tierney's going to be our future captain. I want to see him in the team as much as possible. But if he's not fit, as Alex said, let's not rush him back. He needs to be fully fit to be playing.
Absolutely. And I think obviously you've both talked about the rest of the side, but what I'm really interested in is getting Chris's explanation for your midfield, Chris, because this is going to ruffle a few feathers, I think, in the chat box. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Nerdegar over Lokonga and Partey. Tell me through your explanation of that.
Okay. So Odegaard has yet to find his real place in this team, right? Saka and ESR are playing really well down the side. And I think, we're starting to build that front four that's really solid. I think Partey, I started with this one. I put this together when I thought Partey wasn't playing, right? He might be, he might not be, right? But I wouldn't rush him back, right? He's going to win us points in the next 5-6 games, right? That he's not going to win us here. He's going to win us more points being fit. So I want him fit. I think Odegaard, I want him to be playing that box-to-box role. And I want him to be reined in slightly from the freedom he's had to play around the edges, because I think his vision as you come through the centre, right, is something that we've not really exploited, right? And I put in Ainsley Maitland-Niles because Partey's not there, right? And I think you need somebody who's got proper Premier League experience, that's where he wants to play. And I would see him more sitting just in front of Gabriel and White and making almost like a pseudo 3, right? And putting us 5 at the back, and then allowing Odegaard and the boys at the front to run free. And then I think if you start to look at what's going to happen at 60 minutes when Laka comes off, right, it's very easy to move Odegaard forward because he's in the game. And then depending on whether we're 2 up or 2 down, depends on who you put in next to Ainsley to back out the midfield. So I think it gives you flexibility. And I think it's how do we open that door to the next Arsenal? And we saw this the other day, 3 or 4 games ago, when we started to play 2 up front, Laka and Oba, and we're all going, well, why are you doing that? That makes no sense. And now we've seen it works. And I think this, for me, is an option to go forward. By the way, I suspect he'll go with the other 2 option, right? I suspect he won't do this. But for me, this is about how Arsenal gets the best out of the players we've got. So that's why I chose it.
I'm just going to pick you up on the point because Owen says in the chat, I see what Chris is going for. I just fear it'd be a little flimsy. Now, I don't mind the idea of Ødegaard playing in a number 8 role. I think it's a position that he's played in the 4-3-3 that we've seen when you've put Smith Rowe and him together. But do you think that maybe against Liverpool, it's a little bit too experimental at this stage? Or are you like trial by fire type of thing?
No, I don't. Because if you look at, when Liverpool came to us a couple of years ago, Salah had a bad game and Mane was on fire, right? He came down, he made us look awful and average. Okay. But I think with the ability of slipping Ainsley just in front of Gabriel and White, pushing out that, Salah we know is the biggest threat, right? And he's going to be coming through the centre or the sides of the centre. So no, I don't. I take it that it might be, but Ainsley's not. Ainsley's been around, and this is where he wants to play, right? And this, if we're going to keep players like that in our squad, then I think we need to be pushing them. So maybe it goes back to my free hit. It's like if you try and it doesn't work and you move it around, does it matter? If we lose, if we were playing somebody of a lower level and we lost 3 points because of it, then I'd probably be more conservative.
Yeah, no, I get the argument, especially the one about Partey. Look, I think if Partey was fully fit, he goes straight into everyone's team because he's our best player. I think alongside a lot of the likes of Smith Rowe and Xhaka, but he's one of the most important, if not the most important player in Arsenal at the moment. It's for me, and I'll show you my lineup now. I've gone very traditional as we found at the moment, and the only change is I have also got Ødegaard in there. The reason why I went with Ødegaard over someone like Alexandre Lacazette is because I just feel like away at Anfield, going with the double striker option is maybe going to open up too much of a gap between the midfield and the forward line. And Ødegaard, I feel like, will provide that additional kind of outball for us that he can play deeper, he can press really well, he can take the ball, turn it, and play it to those wide positions to get in behind Liverpool and then feed it to Aubameyang. That was kind of the big toss-up for me, was between Ødegaard and Lacazette, who goes in. I leant towards Ødegaard for his distribution and for his service and for his running and pressing that he provides. The other big one, and I disagree with Vinny, and I would go for Tavares personally because I think his physicality is that good. But I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed to see Tierney in, and it shows kind of the quality in both players that we've got right now, that you can choose either and not be too concerned by it. And that's obviously really good. The rest of the side, I think, as we've mostly all agreed with the back, with the three of Tomiyasu, White and Gabriel Ramsdale and Saka, Smith Rowe and Aubameyang pretty much picks itself. So that's all really positive. Let's go on to the predictions then from you guys. We'll start with Alex. Tell me what you're thinking. And while the guys are going through it, please do be putting your scorelines into the chat box, of course. Alex, scoreline, what are you going for?
I am going to go for 3-2 to Arsenal.
Scorers? I should have said that before.
Scorers. I think Emil Smith-Rowe will score. I think Gabriel will score. And I think that Thomas Partey will score. Why not?
Turn up for the books, that would be. Vinny, scoreline and scorers, please.
I'm going to go 2-2. Saka's going to get a goal and over. Saka hasn't scored in a while. People are giving him stick. I think he's going to do well. And I think they're wrongly giving him stick as well. I think Saka was probably our man of the match against Watford. He tore Danny Rose apart down that wing.
Yeah, I have to agree. I thought he was fantastic. And I think I wrote a piece this week saying about how this is the test. This is the opportunity for Saka now. He could be up against Shimikas, depending on the fitness of Andrew Robertson. Could be a really good opportunity for him to really stamp his mark on a big top six side away from home. Chris, prediction and scorers, please.
Okay, so I think we're going to go down by a goal, 3-2. And I think Oba and Saka is most likely to score for us.
No, fair enough. Conservative, and I tend to agree. I went for 3-1 Liverpool in my prediction. That was my head talking. My heart says 2-2, Vinny, and I agree with you there. I want to be optimistic about this. I really do. I just think this might be that one test too far for Arsenal on their run. If we can get anything from this game, it would be monumental for this team, and going into matches against Newcastle and then Manchester United, Southampton, Leeds, West Ham, Everton we've got in there as well. There's some really important fixtures. So if we can get a result from this game, it would be huge, not only for the team, but of course for Arteta. And I think it might, if we were to say put in a really good performance and get something, I think it could turn a few heads back to kind of towards Arteta that had maybe skewed away from him briefly. So it's going to be a big one. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. Owen says 2-1 Liverpool. Daniel Roberts says 3-0 Ramsdale, hat-trick of assists. Emil Smith, Xhaka and Cedric to get on the board. Dan always providing the comedy to our predictions each show. Vishal says 2-2. O'Malley says 1-0 Arsenal, Ramsdale and Gabriel masterclass. Fala going with the 3-0 Liverpool. MIL saying 2-1 Arsenal. Salah and Emil Smith throwing a Aubameyang to score. Pranjal agrees on the other side of the scoreline, saying 2-1 Liverpool. Mr. Joker says it's 1-1 for me, lads. I think it'll be Laka for his customary Liverpool goal. Vishal says 2-2 Smith and Aubameyang. Tom says 2-2, a point away at Anfield would be already great. I mean, nod away, guys. If I offered you a draw at this point, would you all take it? I think we all probably would. Yes. Johan says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Neil says 2-1. Sarvik says 1-1. Jonathan says 2-1 to the Arsenal. 1 point would be excellent, says Pranchal. Liverpool to win 3-1, says Omar. And 12-0 Liverpool from Temi. I mean, talk about pessimism. That's it right there. Deary me, Temi. You need to drink some more positive water, mate. Justin, Arsenal 4, Liverpool 0. That would be unbelievably good. Talk about going from one end of the spectrum to the other. Thank you. Sorry that we couldn't go through all of your predictions, people. There's so many of you tuning in. Please do make sure you drop a like on the show if you haven't done so already. And show my panel of guests some love in the chat box. Vinny, always an absolute pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much. And
No
yeah,
problem.
let's hope for a good result.
Tell people where they can find you.
Sexy Bold Man on Instagram.
There you go. There you go. You can't miss him. Alex, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Tell people you'll be able to find you. I know it's going to be in a certain app, so tell people where that is.
Yeah, no. In fact, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm currently doing Movember, which is for testicular, prostate cancer, and for men's health, suicide, along those lines. If you go to Bournemouth University Bobcats, who are the American football team who I'm a member of, on Movember's website, any donation of any kind would be much appreciated. You can keep up with what we're doing. We're doing like peer-to-peer swims in Bournemouth, things like that. So if anyone would be willing to donate, it would be much appreciated. But
Alex, if you send me the link to that, I'll put it in the description once we've gone.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
I'll put that in down below. So if you're catching up on the show and you're not watching live, you'll be able to click the link in the description if you want to help out. You'll be able to find Alex, of course, in our Discord server, as you'll be able to find both Vinny and Chris too. Chris, thanks so much, mate. Fantastic debut. You got a lot of love in the chat box. So thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Thank you. I popped my cherry.
The pop the TGT cherry, love that. Are you on Twitter or anything? You are indeed on Twitter. I know that you are. Tell people what it is.
I am on Twitter, yes, CRT40. But I'm not the most active person.
Neither are a lot of the people, to be fair. They just get Twitter so that people follow them in the end, which is fine. You know, you're allowed to do that, but there you go. CRT40, yes, on Twitter. So go give Chris a follow. He's only got a few, so go give him those additional followers as well. Yes, Vinny.
Yeah, quickly before we go, Alex is doing prostate cancer. I think prostate cancer is such an important thing for men to check themselves. My dad got it this year, and luckily they found it early and they was able to take his prostate out. But it's important that all of us men go and get checked, especially if you're over 40. It takes 2 seconds and it can save your life. So
absolutely.
Definitely a great cause to work for.
Well said, Vinny. And as I said before, you'll be able to go and donate as well at the link in the description if you're watching on catch up. So please make sure you do that. And if you're listening on audio, it should still be in the video or the audio description as well. We will be back probably on Sunday because I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be around tomorrow other than the 8 a.m. show because it is my birthday on Sunday and we've got a whole lot of stuff. Or the missus got a lot of stuff. I've got no idea what we're doing, but a lot of stuff is planned for tomorrow. So something's happening, but there'll be no 8 a.m. show on Sunday morning and there'll be no match reaction show in the afternoon. So you'll have to go over to all the other top places, Gooner's Pod, Highbury Squad, Arsenal Lounge, of course, Harry's Chronicles of a Gooner channel. I'm going to forget someone now. It's going to be bad. A Burkout Wonderland, loads of channels out there. Please do go check them out. There's loads of people doing lots of reaction to the game, so please make sure you go and check. Oh, and the Arsenal the job I have, do go check out those guys as well. Make sure you do go and listen back to their match reaction, because there will be a show pretty much around half an hour after the game over there. And you can watch back Mikel Arteta's press conference as well. I think nearly 10,000 people have tuned in for that already. So please do go and watch that. Thank you for listening. We'll be back very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.